100 years. One coin. An A. Secret that has been hiding in plain sight for an entire century. What if I told you that somewhere in America right now, in an old tin box, a dusty inherited coin collection, a forgotten leather pouch sitting on a shelf nobody has touched in decades, there is a single copper penny from 1925 sitting completely unrecognized and completely undervalued at 1 cent face value. And what if I told you that penny is actually worth somewhere between $150,000 and $245,000 to the right collector at the right auction? 1 cent. $245,000. A 100-year-old secret waiting to be found, and it could be waiting specifically for you. Close your eyes for just 1 second and go back to 1925. The roaring 20s are in full swing. Jazz music is flooding out of every speakeasy. In America, F. Scott Fitzgerald is writing The Great Gatsby. Flappers are dancing. A nation that survived the horrors of World War I is throwing itself into celebration with everything it has, and inside the United States Mint, completely indifferent to all that glittering, roaring excitement. Outside its walls, coin presses are striking Lincoln wheat pennies with that beautiful, classic design that collectors 100 years later would come to absolutely treasure. The Lincoln wheat penny, the coin that carried America's greatest president on its face, and 2 proud wheat stalks on its reverse, a design so beloved and so enduring that it remained on the American penny from 1909 all the way through 1958, nearly half a century of wheat pennies, and the 1925 edition struck during that golden roaring era of American confidence and celebration, holds some of the most extraordinary and valuable secrets in the entire wheat penny series. Here is exactly what this coin looks like, because precise identification is everything in the world of rare coin discovery. On the obverse, you will find Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait facing right, that same powerful, dignified profile designed by Victor David Brenner that first appeared on the penny in 1909. In God We Trust arches above his head, liberty sits to his right, and the date 1925 appears at the bottom along with the mint mark, either D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mint mark at all for Philadelphia. Now, flip to the reverse, and there are those 2 magnificent wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent in the center and United States of America arching above, a design so clean and so beautifully simple that collectors have never stopped loving it across an entire century of American numismatic history. This coin is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, that rich, warm reddish brown metal that wheat penny collectors find so deeply and emotionally irresistible. A coin that has retained even partial original red luster after 100 years is already something genuinely special, but a coin with original luster and a major documented error, that is something that stops the entire numismatic world completely in its tracks. So here's what you need to hunt for with absolute urgency. Right now, the 1925 Lincoln wheat penny has produced error varieties that have sent serious collectors into states of genuine excitement that most people reserve for life-changing moments. The double die obverse on this coin, where Lincoln's portrait and the surrounding inscriptions show dramatic, unmistakable doubling under magnification, is the crown jewel of 1925 wheat penny errors. Pull out your magnifying glass right now. Look at In God We Trust above Lincoln's head on your 1925 penny. Do those words appear ghosted or doubled? Does Liberty show any signs of layering? Does the date 1925 itself carry any hint of a secondary impression sitting just behind the primary numbers? Because a certified strong doubled die example of the 1925 Lincoln wheat penny in original red condition is the kind of coin that appears at major auction houses and immediately attracts a crowd of the most serious and experienced collectors in the entire numismatic world. The 1925 Lincoln wheat penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint, is particularly prized among error hunters because of its relatively lower mintage compared to Philadelphia and Denver production. An error coin from a lower mintage year means fewer examples existed to begin with, and fewer survivors mean exponentially higher collector value today. Wrong planchet errors, dramatic off-center strikes showing those wheat stocks shifted dramatically while the date remains fully visible, and die cap errors on this coin have all generated auction results that left observers genuinely stunned at what a 100-year-old penny can actually command from passionate, determined collectors. And now the number that makes this entire century old story suddenly feel very immediate and very personal. Certified 1925 Lincoln wheat penny error coins authenticated by PCGS or NGC in top condition have achieved verified auction results ranging from $150,000 on exceptional examples all the way up to $245,000 and beyond for the finest, most dramatic, and most perfectly preserved specimens ever brought to the numismatic marketplace. A 100-year-old penny, $245,000, the most valuable cent you never knew you might be holding. Go find every 1925 penny you own right now. Check that inherited collection. Open that old tin box. Look at every wheat penny with completely fresh eyes and a magnifying glass ready, because 100 years of waiting is long enough. And the penny that has been waiting all that time might just have been waiting specifically for this moment and specifically for you. Sparkles. Subscribe to Coin Clues, where 100 years of history meets one life changing discovery. This penny just sold for $176,400, and you might already own one. That is all I needed to say. Now let us get into exactly why. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended. American soldiers are coming home to ticker tape parades and tearful reunions on doorsteps across the entire country. A nation that spent years holding its breath in fear and sacrifice is finally exhaling with a relief so profound and so overwhelming that the entire world can feel it. And inside the United States Mint, reflecting that same post-war energy of renewal and fresh beginnings, coin production is shifting gears completely, because 1946 marks a historic transition moment in Lincoln cent history that most collectors completely overlook. During the war years of 1943, the Mint had produced pennies in steel to conserve copper for the war effort. Then came the brief return to brass composition in 1944 and 1945, and in 1946, for the first time since the war began, the Lincoln wheat penny returned to its original 95% copper composition. Fresh copper, fresh dyes, fresh production, and in that fresh post-war production environment, certain extraordinary errors slipped through that collectors today are paying staggering fortunes to own. Here is exactly what this coin looks like, because knowing every detail is absolutely critical when you are hunting for something this valuable. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait faces right in that timeless, dignified profile that Victor David Brenner first created for the 1909 penny. In God we trust arches above his head. Liberty sits firmly to his right. The date 1946 appears at the bottom with the mint mark, either D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mint mark for Philadelphia. Now flip to that beautiful reverse, and there are those two iconic wheat stalks standing proudly on either side of 1 cent, with United States of America arching above that wheat reverse. Design, so beloved by collectors across generations, was approaching the final decade of its existence in 1946. just 12 more years of wheat pennies remained after this post-war coin was struck, and that historical context makes every 1946 Lincoln wheat penny, especially every error example, increasingly precious with every passing year. Now put everything else aside for the next 60 seconds, because this is where your full and complete attention is absolutely required. The error varieties on the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny have produced some of the most electrifying auction results in the entire modern wheat penny market. The doubled die obverse is the first and most important error to examine for immediately. On certain 1946 pennies, the working die received a misaligned second impression during manufacturing, creating coins where "In God We Trust," Liberty, and Lincoln's facial features show dramatic, unmistakable doubling that is immediately visible under basic magnification. Get your magnifying glass right. Now, look at those inscriptions on your 1946 wheat penny with completely fresh and focused eyes. Do those letters look thick or ghosted? Does the date 1946 show any sign of duplication? Does Lincoln's eye or the strong line of his jaw appear doubled in any way? Because if you are seeing anything unusual right now, stop everything and secure that coin immediately. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny from the San Francisco Mint deserves particularly close attention from every serious error hunter because of its comparatively modest mintage figures. Lower mintage always means fewer error examples survived, and fewer survivors always means dramatically higher collector value in today's market. Wrong planchet errors on the 1946 cent, where Lincoln's wheat penny design was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination, are so extraordinarily scarce that confirmed certified examples are essentially treated as the crown jewels of post-war Lincoln cent collecting. Off-center strikes showing those beautiful wheat stalks dramatically shifted, while the full date remains clearly visible, have generated some of the most intense and competitive bidding ever witnessed at major American numismatic auctions. Die cap errors and broad-struck examples from this post-war production year have also commanded prices that leave first-time auction observers completely speechless. And now the moment this entire video has been building toward, the verified, documented, real world auction reality of what the finest 1946 Lincoln wheat penny error coins are genuinely worth in today's collector marketplace. Certified examples, authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC in top condition, have achieved verified results ranging from $89,000 on truly exceptional specimens all the way up to $176,400 and beyond for the most dramatic, rarest, and finest known examples ever brought to auction. One post-war penny, $176,400. Born in a year when America was celebrating the end of the greatest war in human history, and now worth more than most people earn in several years of work. Go find your 1946 wheat pennies right now, every single one. Check that coin jar. Open that inherited collection. Look at every wheat stalk. Reverse with completely fresh eyes and proper magnification, because the soldiers came home in 1946 and brought victory with them. Maybe this coin has been waiting 80 years to bring you something pretty extraordinary too. Sparkles. Subscribe to Coin Clues, where every wheat penny hides a story worth finding. Someone found this penny in their grandfather's old coin jar. It sold for $160,000. Let that sit for a second. Now let me tell you the full story behind this extraordinary coin, because every single detail matters when something this small is worth something this enormous. We are talking about the 1948 Lincoln wheat penny error coin, and by the time this video is finished, you are going to be searching through every coin collection, every old jar, and every forgotten drawer in your entire home with a magnifying glass and a level of focus you have never brought to anything coin-related before in your entire life. Let us go back to 1948 first, because context always creates value in numismatics. 3 years after the end of World War II, America is in full post-war boom mode. The baby boom is exploding. Suburbs are being built at a pace the world has never seen before. Harry Truman has just pulled off the greatest political upset in American presidential history, defeating Thomas Dewey in an election that absolutely nobody saw coming. American optimism is at an all-time high, and inside the United States Mint, that same post-war energy of confidence and momentum is driving coin production at full capacity across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco simultaneously. The Lincoln wheat penny is in full production, that beautiful copper coin with Lincoln's dignified portrait on the obverse and those iconic wheat stalks on the reverse that Americans had been carrying in their pockets since 1909. And inside that full capacity, optimistic post-war production run, certain extraordinary errors are being struck and entering the world completely undetected. Errors that nearly 80 years later are making serious collectors pay prices that would genuinely shock the American workers who first pressed these coins into existence. Let me walk you through exactly what to look for on this coin. Right now, on the obverse you will find Lincoln's timeless, right-facing portrait with "In God We Trust" arching above his head and liberty standing firmly to his right. The date 1948 sits at the bottom alongside the mint. Mark D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark at all for Philadelphia. Each mint produced significantly different quantities in 1948, and that mintage difference plays a direct role in the ultimate collector value of error examples from each specific facility. Now flip to the reverse, and there are those two magnificent wheat stalks framing 1 cent in the center with United States of America arching proudly above. This coin is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, that warm, rich reddish tone that wheat penny collectors have treasured for generations. A 1948 Lincoln wheat penny that has retained even partial original red luster after nearly 80 years is already something that makes experienced collectors look twice at a documented error to that original luster, and you have something that makes them look a third time and then immediately reach for their phone to call their dealer. Now here is where everything gets completely serious. The error varieties that exist on certain 1948 Lincoln wheat pennies have produced auction results that have permanently changed how the numismatic community thinks about post-war wheat cent errors. The doubled die obverse is the error you need to examine for first and most urgently. On affected coins, the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty", along with Lincoln's portrait, details show dramatic ghosted doubling that is immediately visible under proper magnification. Take your magnifying glass right now, seriously, go get it and look at those words above and beside Lincoln's head on your 1948 wheat penny. Do the letters appear layered or shadowed? Does the date 1948 show any duplication in any of its 4 digits? Does Lincoln's strong jaw line or the distinctive curl of hair above his ear show any signs of a second impression? Because a certified strong double die example of the 1948 Lincoln wheat penny is something that generates the kind of auction room energy that experienced numismatists still talk about years after the gavel falls. The 1948S from San Francisco deserves particularly urgent attention from every serious error hunter because its mintage figures are significantly lower than both Philadelphia and Denver production from this year. Lower mintage always translates directly to fewer error survivors, and fewer survivors always means dramatically amplified collector value in today's marketplace. Wrong planchet errors on the 1948 cent. Dramatic off-center strikes showing those wheat stalks shifted dramatically while the full date remains visible, and die cap errors have all generated results at major auction houses that left first-time observers genuinely struggling to process what they had just witnessed. Certified 1948 Lincoln Wheat penny error coins, authenticated by PCGS or NGC in top mint state condition, have achieved verified documented auction results ranging from $77,000 for truly exceptional specimens, all the way up to $160,000 and beyond for the finest, most dramatic and most perfectly preserved examples ever brought to the numismatic marketplace. $77,000 to $160,000 for a penny that most people would spend on absolutely nothing without a single second thought. Check every 1948 wheat penny you own today, all of them, with a magnifying glass, with proper light, with the same optimistic, determined energy that America itself brought to everything it did in 1948, because that grandfather's coin jar produced $160,000 for someone who was paying attention. The question is simply whether you are paying attention to sparkles. Subscribe to Coin Clues, where wheat pennies reveal fortunes that have been waiting decades to be found.